Okay, well, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much to the organization for this wonderful event, for everything. So I'm going to talk about the 4 axes for a memorable experience. Let's see what that thing means. Well, that's me. I've been already presented, so I don't think that I need to, invest some time here. But this is something that I wanted to talk about. I was having lunch with my grandparents like 2 weeks ago. I was talking to my grandpa. He's going to be 93 by December. And I told him, you know what? I'm going to the Gamification World Congress in 2 weeks, and I think that I'm going to show something that you invented. Because this is the game that we've been playing in my family for ages. Every time we meet in Christmas, every time we meet, regardless of the date or the opportunity. It's called Polydisc. It was invented by my grandpa, like a lot of time ago. It's made of wood, and I just wanted to share it because I understand that I have some genes, right, that come from this guy. So that this might be, the beginning of it all. Okay, so you know SpongeBob, right? You know it? Yeah, sure you do. Okay, we have SpongeBob and Patrick. Patrick, no one knows why, but he doesn't go to the school. He's so happy because SpongeBob is his true friend, and SpongeBob has invited him, like going to the school. You should come here, you should meet my friends. So Patrick, he's like really, really happy. But at some point, Patrick starts to cry. And he cries, and he was so happy that no one understands. What's happening here, Patrick? You're at the school, you're with a friend. Why is it? What's the thing that happens? Okay, see, this is what happens, right? This is unfair. I have no stairs, right? I have nothing, and SpongeBob, he's my friend, I have a ton of stairs, and I have nothing. Well, Patrick, this is life. It's your first time coming here. You've done basically nothing, so, what are you supposed to get? You are not well ranked. And then SpongeBob goes like that, even being, like the best friend of Patrick. And you know what happens? That, she, the professor, she takes 1 star, and he has a lot of stars and gives it to Patrick. This is how we are, right? We don't like to share our stars because that means that this is something that we want. This is something that we were rewarded for. So we have to be careful, with the stars. We already know that. Okay, well, we had a couple of presentations before that were talking about gamification for dinosaurs and all this, sort of thing. And, we all know, I understand what PBL is, right? Like points, badges, and leaderboards. I think that points, badges, and leaderboards are absolutely important, absolutely needed, right? You need to provide with feedback real time. You need to compare your players. You need sort of equalize the equation, the experience. But, this is not the only thing that you should do, because it's much more complicated than that. So you can design a quite technical process. Let's say that you are in situation A. You talk to a client, you are briefing with the client, and they have some objectives, they have some challenges, they have some stuff that is, like happening. So they are in A, and they want to be in B. And you can design a quite technical process to do so. We have really important consultancies, services out there that do that. But what about heartbeats? Well, this is tough because heartbeats mean something, a little bit different. So everyone devoted to gamification here, we are so used to talk about dynamics, right? Aesthetics, like pleasures. We have like different metrics, right? Out there, it's engagement, decision, efficiency, expression, fantasy, epic challenge. We have a lot of interesting stuff that is really complicated to sell. It sounds great when you are debriefing with a company. It sounds really great, but they don't really understand, and we know that because it's not that tangible. PBL can be tangible, and we are used to that because we've been doing it for ages, right? And it's okay. But it's difficult to sell something when you're talking about psychology, right? Because we are talking about psychology, and then it gets complicated, it gets tough, it gets challenging, and it's lovely, of course, at the same time. So what happens with psychology? Maybe you know Jesse Shell. Do you know him? Well, yes, Shell, you know, he has a magnificent book called The Art of Game Design, and he has The Art of Game Design lenses, which are more than 100 lenses in his second edition, where he basically explains everything that has to be taken into account. If you are game designing something, you can download these lenses for free in your smartphone if you want. This is a great reward, right? And he mentions in one of the lenses the elemental tetrad. So he talks about 4 things that we should take into account, which are like storytelling, technology, game design, and art. But I'm not talking about the elemental tetrad today. I'm talking about 4 different axes, because I'm not really talking about game design today. So first axis is customer centricity. Okay, let me present this guy here with a blue t-shirt. He's 9. He plays video games, of course. He loves to play Minecraft with the PS3. And do you know what he does? He takes his 3DS console, he puts it in the table, he records himself with this, you know, portable console while he's playing with the PS3 Minecraft. Once he's finished, he removes the memory card from the DS3, he plugs it into his laptop, and then he edits the video with music and effects and all that. And once he's done, he says, Daddy, can you send this to Leo's parents? Because Leo is his best friend, because I want him to see this piece that I produced. He's only 9. And this is our public, right? This is our target. This is the people that we are raising. And he's absolutely native in terms of digital competence. He's my son. Okay, and I promise that I'm not spending 4 hours every day like saying play games, and edit video. No. He does it by himself. So I should place myself, you know, where he is if I want to design something for him, because we are truly designing stuff for these people. Okay, the second axis has been already mentioned, I think. So we had a wonderful talk right before lunch that was delivered by someone that likes vermouth. Okay. He's called Bernardo Crespo. And he was talking about the paper, I saw the paper and I liked it. He was talking about this paper about science. So, I mean, you just need to read there, right? It seems that if we play Super Mario, something interesting happens to our brain. So we have science pieces that demonstrate that our brains get bigger and bigger if we play. I mean, that's quite clear. And this is the second axis I wanted to mention. And then I go to the third one, which is new funding. Because we have funding, and I'm talking at an European level now. We have funding here in Europe with regard to gamification, so we should go there and get it. This is a real project, Jam Today. More than 25 partners. Some of you here, you know, are also, you know, engaged with this project. This project wants to prove that a game jam hackathon, you know, is educational methodology with real KPIs and indicators. And Europe is funding it, and we are doing it. And we are celebrating here in Barcelona in 1 month's time the Jam Today Fair, which is, you know, like the closing, let's say, event ceremony for the project. So those things are happening. And that's interesting, because that means that something out there in Brussels understands that these things are important, relevant, right? And now the fourth one, which is look at the camera, please. So I want you to put your best smile. Okay, and now we're going to get, oh, well, this is the PS Vita, by the way. I know it's a gaming console, but it has a camera built in. You know that, right? So 3, 2, 1. Okay. This is what you are. So we have a ton of superheroes here. We have like different shapes. We have like different colors, right? We have different superheroes. We are so mixed that it works. Well, that thing has to be taken into account. If you want to storytell something, if you need to apply technology, but at the same time you need to manage the project, you need to know game design. If you are, you know, like implementing some art assets, you need a ton of superheroes. If you have 5 Spider-Mans, it's not working. If you have 5 Iron Mans, it's not working. You need the Avengers. So we all need to think about that, because sometimes you want to implement something in your own, and it's just complicated, because you don't know everything. Or at least you're not good at everything. Okay? Well, now one day I was gamifying a bit, and then I challenged my students because I wanted to present a project that sort of takes it all that we are discussing here. So, well, we have a group of 11 students. I love that story because they are taking audiovisual communication, so they are not developers. I also love it because the majority of the group, they are women. And I was in class, one interactive design class, and I said something like, why not implementing a real project? I mean, something for real. I don't want to invent something internal. I want you to work for a real client. They were scared to death. I said, like, I've been in this hospital. We have, those kids with Down syndrome. They need to evolve in some competencies. And I think that you can understand really, really well what you should design for them to play and to experience. So you need to be customer-centric. I want you to work with the hospital because I want science on it. At the same time, I have 11 people, so different superheroes. And we might get some funding. So they said, well, how are we supposed to develop? We are the visual communication students. And I said, well, there's a bunch of, like programming languages out there that you can use even if you are not a developer. So let's try that. I mean, just believe, okay? Just believe. And that thing happened. You can go to this web page. You know what happened? I mean, they had a lot of ups and downs. I mean, that thing was like 16 weeks long. But we got it published at some newspapers and at some media. So we spread the word. We were talking about science. We were talking basically about, zero funding in this country for this specific investigation for a new substance for the brain that could help a lot Down syndrome kids, combined with games. This is what the hospital wanted, like to test, let's say. So we got some media, and the students helped a lot with that because they not only designed the campaign, but they designed all the, social media and stuff. We got 2 different prototypes. We could play test with 8 families, with real kids. One prototype, you can see it out there, was like tablet-based, and then another prototype with the Kinect, camera platform. And remember, they are not developers. But we were using the correct tools so that non-programmers could program something. But they were really good with storytelling and art. And they were so happy at the end of the project that we decided to apply for crowdfunding. Someone said, you are just crazy. Crowdfunding for an educational project? No one is going to invest here. Education is tough. If you're in the business of education, you know that it's tough. Sometimes they want to be disruptive, but they don't really want to be disruptive, and of course they don't have money. Well, let's ask for some crowdfunding. So we were asking for a quantity in between 15,000 and 25,000 euros, and we got 20,000 euros in 3 months. So that thing happened, we got the money. And these students, 1 year after, they're pitching, to real publishers to create their company. I was with them like 1 week ago. And they were pitching to different publishers, like to get this to happen, okay? I love this story because this is what we all want to happen, for them to understand what to take into account to build the sort of stuff that we are discussing here, and at the same time to connect university with real entrepreneurship outside, right before they finish their studies. So, we are talking about transmedia then. We are talking about transmedia, which is something that I would like to put on value here because it's about gamification, of course, plus transmedia. Transmedia storytelling, which means a lot of platforms. So when I'm designing my gamification solution, I'm presenting scientifically proven cases to my client. At the same time, I go with all the superheroes to the meetings. And at the same time, I'm thinking about customer centricity. So it's not about my target group to come where I want them to be, but it's about me to go where they are. I have to design a transmedia plan. And a transmedia plan means, okay, should it happen with cinema? Should it happen with comic, with book, with game book, with, documentary, with what? With a boat? With what? And it's about me, it's about them. For those of you that have been trying to sell a solution to a real company, you know that this thing is complicated. Because the first time that they might say when you say it, after saying, hello, hello, the first thing, that they might say, it's okay, return of investment and KPIs, which is perfectly fine. But then they might add something like, well, we have this platform here, and we want it to happen there. And it can be done, but sometimes it is just a matter of the people that they have in the company that they don't want to spend their time inside that platform. So we have a company. Are we designing for the people that are sitting in the table with us, or are we designing, for other people, right? Okay, well, these are the 4 key axes that I wanted to present. It's like customer centricity, as I said, science, funding, mixing profiles, but please don't forget the transmedia plan, because this is highly relevant and you have a ton of possibilities. And by the way, using a transmedia plan that is sort of attached to the target group that you have allows you to plan your budget accordingly. If you don't have a lot of money, you can do something more analog. If you don't need to be absolutely viral, with like 3,000 people, you might not need something digital. And then you shouldn't be that scared about funding, because sometimes it can be really, really easier. Paper and pencil, and it works. Or reuse some movies, and everyone understands, because it's our universal language. Okay, well, this is what I wanted to present today. Thank you very much, and that's it.